How you doing there, chat room? This is a marathon stream. We're doing well. We're doing all right. Webface is asking, can we give a quick recap of what the last issue was and how we can fix that? Yes, let's do that. Previously on Fritz and Friends, we were following along in the workshop, and at the end, this is only module 3. We're almost 6 hours in. We're only through 3 modules. Are we going to get through 6? We'll see. We were building a search feature, and the search feature is intended to go and search our database and return data from it. And when you look here in Visual Studio, we've got some C# code and that's doing searches through the database, through the speakers. Here is particularly where the problem was. Here on line 36 through about line 44 right here. But these 3 in particular, it was trying to do a query and say, well, where the name contains whatever query we were passing in. So we were trying to pass in and search for our friend Heather. And you type Heather, all lowercase, well, it wouldn't match because it wasn't doing a case. It was doing a case-sensitive search, right? So lowercase h doesn't match uppercase h, so that's not a match, rejected. So how do we get it to force it to match? Well, so what we're doing is we're saying, well, give me back all of the speakers into this block of code here. There we go. And after I get that list, then apply this filter on our web server, right? And this filter now says, well, where the name to all lowercase contains the query string, which we forced to all lowercase up there on line 25, or the bio contains that query term all lowercase. Same thing with the website. But some of these are null. Well, if these values happen to be null, we have to do some null conditional checking. So that's why you see name question mark period, bio question mark period, website question mark period, because it's saying, well, if that value is null, just return null. Don't do the rest of these things. Don't do the to lower invariant. Don't do the contains. It's just null. Okay. Well, if we return null for this, we're actually going to say, well, if that value is null, return false. It's a bad match, false. And that's how we ended up solving this. So, wow, we got a couple new followers up there. D32, Bob Job, Yolhan, Shannon Tierney, Onichu, is that Zarius? And Midnight 079, welcome in. Thanks so much for tuning in. So it's taking this search operation, and it's brought it to the server, to the web server, instead of taking place on the database, where it could be faster, to try and redo this code so that it does that search case insensitively on the database server. Take a little bit of work to rework this, but for right now, just to get this working, it does its thing. So, all right. Let's roll over. Let's talk about the 4th module, which is the ability to log into our website by adding authentication and authorization capabilities. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where it starts to get a little bit tricky working on this. So I'm going to get some more music to code by playing here in the background, and I'm going to dial in. This is gold. There it is. Music from our friend, Mr. Carl Franklin. It's been scientifically designed. It's been engineered to get you in the flow, get you in the groove, so that whatever task it is you're working on, you can listen to, you can get focused, and just get stuff done. Music to code by. It's also called music to flow by. But you can get your copy at mtcb.pwop.com, or you can execute the music command in the chat room to get a link to get your copy today. Thank you so much, Jean Valjean, for the music link. All right. Hypnotoad39 asks, when am I working on the login module? Right now. We're going to hook up the ability to log into the website. So this is one of those things that folks either love to do or they avoid it like the plague. Security is a sticky thing, and you don't want to get too wrapped up in it. You don't want to mess this up, because you mess it up and somebody's going to lose a job. All right. The easiest thing you can do here is literally right-click on the front-end project and say Add Identity, and boom, you're done. But it's not that easy. It's not. So we're going to right-click and we're going to add a new scaffolded item. There are ways to do it from the command line. I'm not going to get into that because it's a couple steps here. But it's a little bit clearer when you do it in Visual Studio. So we're going to go into the front-end project, right-click, add, new scaffolded item, and I can go choose identity. We're going to add identity into our project. So it's bringing in the scaffolder, it's bringing in the templates, the features that it needs in order to make the decisions and build the identity features here. And we're going to create a context called identity dbcontext. We'll do that down front end data identity dbcontext. There we go. And we're going to create a user class called front end data user to define front end data. I thought it was identity DB context. Right? And we're going to create a user front end dot yeah, sure. All right. Add that, and it's going to add references to all of the identity features, all of the pages that you need, the password reset, the user profile page, the two-factor authentication setup page, all of that stuff, the GDPR configuration and management pages, the forget my data page for GDPR, all that stuff, all of that goo that you don't want to have to deal with. It's adding right now. So while it's doing that, I'm going to scroll down here. It wants us to organize the files a little bit here. That's fine. We'll take care of some of this. Right. Come on. Shouldn't be that hard to install these packages. There you go. You can see it down here doing the package restore on the command line, on the footer, the blue footer down there. Lily Hazel is here. Hello, Lily. So good to see you. GDPR is slightly more complex than add packaged out. Watch this. Can you hook the identity scaffold up to identity server? Well. So this just sets up the identity. You can specify where you want it to go, how you want it to enforce things as a secondary path. So let's organize here a little bit. In ASP.NET applications, you have the concept of areas here. So we have areas for identity, and area is just another a top level folder that you'll see when you navigate through the website. But you can put together almost like a mini version of a website inside that folder, and it'll be treated as independent of the rest of the application. So we have our identity area, and this is recommending delete the validation. Thanks Octotree. Delete the validation scripts partial. We don't need that. Yeah, thanks. I clicked delete. And delete the README. Stop it. Right, where did the README go? It is. Why did it open the backend services up again? Like, I wasn't up there. Where did it put the README? Did it already? I don't see it. No, it's not there. Scaffolding README, yeah. Oh, there it is, way down at the bottom. Okay. Add identity links into the site header. Right, we haven't configured anything yet. We're just putting this in the front end. So, all we've done is add in some concept of what identity is. We don't know what it's actually doing yet, but we'll take care of that. We'll get that ironed out here. Let's add the links in. So we're going to go into our page layout down here. I keep collapsing you, backend, and you keep opening. Oh, you know why? It's because it has... No. It was in the layout. We need to add the login partial reference. So this is a reference at the following line. And oh, and find this. Okay, navbar collapse. It's right there. And we're gonna put it after that right there. Okay. So this is a login partial. This is a reference to a section of Razor code that we're going to locate and drop in here, and it's actually right there. So it's saying partial, go get some other part of Razor, and it has this file name, login partial, right here. Drop its contents right there, and there it is. So this has all the things to work with the identity area for login and logout. And registration, right? This isn't login up top here. This is like, yeah, hello, whatever your name is, and a logout button. So that's a very simple reference that we've added up there. But all we've done at this point is just add the ability to register and hopefully do something, right? If we look at that identity area over here, we look at the data. We have identity dbcontext, right? And we have our user, right? So this is identity dbcontext, and it doesn't really specify where it's getting this from, how it's configuring, where it's pulling that from. In fact, it says it's going to try and pull it from SQL Server. I don't have a SQL Server. So I think further down here, yeah, generate the entity framework migration. We're going to wire this up so it uses SQLite instead. So, where were we? Site header. We need to be able to support admin users. So we have the new user class, right? We told it, hey, create a user. Here it is. So an identity user has things that you would expect out of a user. Has properties. Come here, you. Properties like their email, their username they're logging in with, right? Normalized email, if their email was confirmed, there's their password hash, right? A concurrency stamp, so you can make sure two folks don't update at the same time. Is two-factor authentication enabled, right? Little things like this. So, what do we do with this? We're going to add the ability for somebody to be an admin. That's just a property we're adding to this. It's not entirely the right way to create somebody, to give somebody admin access, but it's a good start. So, two-factor authentication, all the things, absolutely. Thanks for the follow, tons of fun, and is that CS Liba? Welcome in. Thanks so much for tuning in. And now we need to generate a migration, right? And it's not in the right place. It's not writing to the correct place. You know? Over here, it's trying to use SQL Server. I don't want to use SQL Server, I want to use SQLite. So let's do this. Close all but this. I'm going off script here, friends. Know what I'm saying? It's up here in the back end is where I put startup. There we go. Here I want to say .use SQLite like that, because I don't want to use SQL Server, right? Done. It doesn't know what that is because this is in a different project. What do you mean no suggestions? Well, now you really don't know what that is. I need to add the SQLite package to the front end server. Front end, yeah, service. So let's copy this, go down to the front end service, and I'm going to add right there. Not sure why I put 311 down. Don't want that one. What do I know? You still don't know what this is. Add dbcontext. I mean, come on, right? Add dbcontext options. Use SQLite. What are we missing here? Build that thing. Tell me that I'm wrong, because I'm not wrong. Need an extra parenthesis. All right. Yeah, that's good. All right, we'll put it right there so it kind of looks good. That's what it was. I was missing a parenthesis. And build succeeded. Terrific. All right, so now I have some place to store. I don't want to call it conferences. I want to call it, let's call it something really secure. Don't ever store your security in a SQLite database because folks can download it. I'm doing it strictly for the purposes of this sample. Don't store your security in it. It should be on the back end. I can't remember if it moves to the back end at some point here. We'll take a look. We'll see as we get there. So I need to add a migration to create the identity schema when this, after I'm done building this. Well, it did build. So create it. Put the thing out there. Good, build started. Just like we planned. Yeah, we want to be able to push that back and forth. What would be the right way to have an admin? The right way to have an admin, yes, would have been roles and policies. You'll see how we're going to create a policy, and we're going to advance, if I remember this, we're going to advance the policy in just a little bit. So we're going to do .NET EF database updates and apply that migration. Oh, the bridge camper. Very good. Good question. Let me cue that up. What did I mean by don't put your security there? SQLite, the database that I decided to use here, is a it's a file-based database. It actually wrote, when I did this, it actually wrote security DB here. That's a problem. You don't want folks to be able to just download your database of all your users and their passwords. Don't do that. Put it somewhere else where it's a little bit more secure. So, what is that command line? What command? This isn't a command line. This is a Windows terminal over here that I'm using. So it's the new Windows terminal. I've changed my icon in the corner, so it's my Octocat with the rainbow beard. And it's my background image, my logo. Where is a little bit more secure? Asks the bridge camper. Inside of a database, SQL database, SQL Server, Oracle, MySQL. that is secured and off the same machine as the web server, behind the firewall somewhere else, on the same machine as your web server is going to get knocked over, is going to get made unavailable. Putting it somewhere else on another machine, or even using and relying on something like Active Directory or some other security password management server is what you want to do. Identity server was mentioned a couple times. So you're right, that's not my logo, that's my icon. Actually, no, that is my logo, because it's my logo there, the Fritz and Friends logo. That's a logo, not an icon. Boom. Okay. I hate it when I get that point made to me. All right. So now we have our security database written, so we can start loading it up with people. And we create what's called middleware. The middleware is what's actually going to enforce and stop processing because somebody isn't authenticated. So when you look at the startup file, we mentioned as we built this that this block down here inside this configure method, this is the HTTP pipeline. When a request comes in, it starts at the first line up there on line 38, and it goes down through all of them until it finds something that says, okay, you're done. And it goes back up as need be to verify and make sure there's nothing else that needs to be processed or handled. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to stop this by adding authentication right here after routing. So what we'll do is after you get in and you choose and it figures out here's the page that I want to go to on line 52, it's then going to say, well, okay, you're trying to get to /admin. Now, on line 54, check the authentication. Are you allowed to go to that page? Oh, I'm sorry, check the authentication. Are you required to be logged in to get to that page? If you are, force a login. The next one, authorization, says, okay, you're logged in. Do you have the appropriate permission to get to this page? So, two different things. Authentication is, who are you? Authorization is, are you allowed to do this? Guy Royce with the raid. Thank you so much for the raid. Woo! Look at that. Thank you so much, my friend. Welcome in, Raiders. It's so good to see you. My name is Jeff Fritz, and this is the ASP.NET Core Workshop. We're in the middle of Module 4, talking about authentication and authorization and setting up identity so folks can log into our application. We've already gone through 3 other modules over the past 6 hours we just crossed. We've got about 2 more here. And we're going to see how fast we can get through the rest of this so we can get more of this coming through. Thank you so much, Guy. What were you working on over there on your stream? Let me know. Friends, do you see that? Do you see? Wait.
Greetings, my excellent friend.
Ellie Face is here. Hello, how are you doing, my friend? Thank you so much for tuning in. Yeah, that's a 6-hour uptime you see over there. 99% sentiment analysis. That chat room doesn't get any happier than that. No, maybe if they had tacos and ice cream. And, well, everybody loves tacos. I mean, right? That's a thing. Maybe if they had some madrinas. No, I don't know. Who are you? Are you allowed to do this? Yes. Oh, we hit 100% a couple times. It's great, hitting 100% there. Ice cream flavored tacos. Choco Day. Do you remember the Choco Taco? That was so good. They made a taco out of the same stuff that they make ice cream, taco shell, out of the same stuff they make ice cream cones out of. Put ice cream in the middle with fudge and wrap the whole thing, just dunked the whole thing in chocolate. And it was a little frozen novelty that you could get when I was a kid. I'm allergic to wheat now. I have celiac disease, so I can't have those if I could even find them anymore. Oh, it was so good. The database is not in the dub root folder, so it's not accessible outside of the... Okay, hey, let me back up here. All right, we're getting back into the questions here. Oh, boy. Let me see here. Oh, so here, Guy had a comment for us. Writing a MUD using Node, WebSockets, and Redis. That's cool. All right, can I get a shout out for Guy Royce? Very cool. Thank you so much for sharing and bringing your viewers over here. Very much appreciate it. Let me so is it Zelpy? Says the database file isn't in the www root folder, so it's not accessible outside the server. Correct. But if you think your server isn't going to get knocked over at some point and somebody's going to be able to get to the files on your web server, you got another thing coming. Web servers get knocked over a lot. It's right. Developer writes some insecure code. If they can get through onto your server somehow, some way, they're on the web server. Are they going to be able to get to another server from there? That's harder to do. But if they can get to the files on your server, just get a command prompt. They can move files around on the server. If they can move that security DB to the www root folder, you're dead. They deleted it. So everything on a web server, expect at some point is going to get compromised. It's going to get compromised. Thank you so much for the shout out. Choco Tacos. They are still a thing? Oh my gosh. Ice cream panic. Are you kidding? Oh, see, there they were. There they were. Can't have that anymore. How it's sold deliciously. That's how it's served. Okay. All right. Where was I? Let me see. Any more questions? Somehow we don't trust technicians with data center access and employee IDs. No, we don't. A lot of inside jobs happen in production web servers, and folks' data gets lost. Inside jobs, they're stolen. Yes, it's happened at banks. Lots of banks. Blottosaur. Cool name. Would I recommend getting into the .NET world even if maintaining legacy code? Yes, because there's a lot of enterprises, there's a lot of big companies that use .NET. There's even small companies that use it too, but there's a lot of big companies, there's a lot of folks, there's always a lot of demand for .NET developers. In your part of the world, it might be in different locations, it might be different industries, but there are lots of demand for .NET developers. And since you can use C# code to write anything, big cloud services, IoT devices, mobile apps, desktop apps, you've got a ton of different directions you can go. You can use it to build games, right? Tremendous opportunities that are available to you. I would definitely take a look at it. Fro the Beard actually makes a very good point as a follow-up there. Chipotle wrote their website and online ordering system with .NET Core. You can get tacos with .NET. Right? I mean right. Chipotle and .NET. The more you know. All right. What else? Let's see. Thank you so much for the follow. Is that Polatengen? Welcome in. So a lot of transferable skills when you know .NET. Yes. Yep. Good point there from, is that Rig Quaz? Yep. Absolutely. Don't keep your database on the same machine as your, so let me, this is, a simple configuration error could really screw up your machine in just a second. Your database should never be on the same machine. Your hard disk will be running smoother as well. True story. When Stack Overflow was launched, the SQL Server instance and the web server instance were all running on the same physical hardware. It was the same machine, and it just had the SQL Server running right next to the web. And you could remote desktop into that machine, and they grew fast. So a lot of things happened there. Crichton has a question for us. I want to get started with F#. What do you think about web development in F#? It's interesting. I've seen folks doing it with things. I believe the project's name is Fable. So it works. It's something that you can do. It's not standard. It's definitely not something that you're going to see common out there. When you look at the relative popularity of the various .NET languages, C# is the top. VB is significantly less in popularity, and F# is significantly less than that. And that's the way that the languages reside in popularity right now. F# is a tremendous language for doing some really cool stuff. If you're looking to get started in it, go for it. Jobs and longer-term projects aren't as plentiful as they are in the other programming languages. That's the only caveat I have for you. Otherwise, it's some really neat stuff that folks are doing with F#. They've got a tremendous community that is very supportive and really goes and gets and builds some cool stuff. The F# community is to be envied. They are tremendous. You won't hear me talking bad about the language or about the things that they're doing, but they're doing in that community. Just that it's not as popular, and which can make it a little bit of a challenge when it comes to either finding a job or trying to hire people into positions to work with F#. It's just a little bit more challenging because there aren't as many folks out there. A lot of data analysis with F#. Yeah, absolutely. And there are a handful of F# web frameworks. So, all right. So we dropped in the use authentication middleware here. So it's gonna start checking to say, well, are you who you say you are? Well, next we need to be able to say, let's create some admins. Can you create an admin? Who are they? What can they do? And kind of pass along that information. Speaking of admins, I was going to say, can I drop a quick ad? Can I promote something here real quick? Not just the live coders. We know they're having their virtual event next Thursday, 6 days from now, 14 hours of content. When we get done here, it's going to be about 6 p.m. Eastern time. Might be a little bit of time after that, but you just saw our friend Ellie face in chat. Make sure you check out. She's doing Animal Crossing tonight and having folks come in and they're playing what's it called? Oh my gosh. Where the music plays and you go around in a circle and they take chairs away. Why am I forgetting the name of this game? It's one of those typical games. Musical chairs, thank you. Yeah, they're going to play musical chairs on on Animal Crossing live on Twitch. Make sure you check that out. Thank you for the shout out, Ancient Coder. So there's some weirdness where you're going to have an admin that needs to manage that scenario. Well, we need to build an admin service here so you can create an admin user for the application. So we're going to create an admin service that's going to control if there is an admin and who can create the admin and what we're going to be able to interact with. So let's add in the services folder here an admin service. Come on. There we go. So this is actually, it's actually quite simple when you see what it is. You're gonna be like, oh, really? And we'll fix our red underlines. Yep. Fix that one, fix that one. I think we're all right. Am I? There we go. So all this is doing is we're going to be able to reference the admin service and say, are we allowed to create an admin user? If the admin exists, nope. Otherwise, take a look at the database context, our identity database context. Look in that database and see if any user is marked as admin. If there is an admin, you can't create an admin user. This way, the idea is when you first install and run this application, the first user that you're going to create is an admin. Create the user, it's an admin. Boom. BB, trying to trip me up here. We need to put together an interface for this. I don't think we really need it. But we'll put this out there. You want me to change my hat? You want me to change my hat? What hat would you like? Dealer's choice. I see. All right, give me a second here. We'll change the hat. So we want to make this security service available for folks to be able to, well, for it to be consumed in our application. So, using static. Did I put that in the wrong place? No. admin service. No. That's what happened. What is this? Nope. Oh no. We're battling over my hat? Oh no. Oh no. What's this? Let me see. So back over here, that should clear up. Right? Oh, this needs to inherit from that interface. Okay. So now I have an admin interface that we can provide. Wear a different hat. Uno reverse card. Oh, dear Lord. They figured out how to redeem the channel points to change hats. Well, you know what? I'm wearing my Pudge's Cheesesteaks shirt today to support my local cheesesteak shop. They've been doing a fantastic job. I'm gonna put on the matching hat to go with this. Give me 1 second. It's right over here. Ah, there we go. All right. There we go. So. All right. Got the matching Flyers hat to go with the Pudge's Flyers t-shirt. All right. So. We've now got an admin service, and there's a singleton. There's only one admin service that's managed in the application. And it wants me to run the identity scaffolder again. And we're going to generate the register page so that folks can register as a user. So let's go back up here. I'm going to close all but this. And we're going to scaffold one more time. So this is one of the nice things about how they've done identity is it's re-entrant. You can re-scaffold, you can regenerate these features as many times as you'd like. So we're going to add the register. There it is, account register. And the data context it's using is that one. Yeah, do that. So, let's see. All right. If you're on the command line, there's the command line to run. Go away. Scaffolding readme. Don't need you. All right. And there's a model here for here's how you register as a new user. We're going to update this so that here we go. So that it also takes that admin service, right? So admin service, I'm gonna call it, right? Admin service. And yep, stash it in an appropriate, check this out. I can control dot here and actually say, create an initialized field, admin service. Format all that. Looks nice, good. So now, when you create a user, if you're allowed to create an admin, make them an admin, right? So that way, the first user that's created is the admin. So this is in the on post, right? So on post, so on get, we were saying, this is what happens when you just navigate to this page is the onGet method. Well, onPost is when you click a button that says save, change, do this thing. Well, it does onPost here, and we're just going to put this check in here right before where is it? onPost right before it's right? var result equals user manager. Where is it? Ah, it's right there. We'll put it right there. So if you're allowed to create the admin user, set them as the admin user. All right. And we want to log a message when users are created to indicate that an admin user is created. Update the code that logs a message. Ah, okay. So somewhere here it says that there it is. User create a new account with password. We're also going to say, well, if the user was an admin, the admin user was created. Okay. This feels backwards here. So now instead of actually receiving the identity context here, it says, well, instead receive the service provider. I'm not quite sure why it's rerouting us here. Let's dig through this. This workshop's changed a couple times since I last touched it, so I'm kind of, why is this changing? So instead of receiving this, it wants us to receive an service provider. When we were talking about dependency injection earlier, I mentioned there's a service locator. It's called the service provider. And this is what contains all the information about all the services that are available inside of an ASP.NET Core application. So we're going to create and initialize a field for that service provider, and we're not going to have the dbcontext here. Yeah. So now it's asking, see, this is backwards here. Under allow admin creation, right, it's saying change the using statement up just a bit inside of here, so that we only get an identity DB context if the admin doesn't exist. Otherwise, it's creating them every time. So what we've done is we've minimized the number of times it creates a connection to that security database. All right. So if I build the application now, it should build with no problem. Let's see down there in the footer. No. Wrong-o. It's not service provider create scope. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. There it is. Built successfully. Maybe I had my capitalization there wrong. All right. So it builds, but we actually want an admin section for folks to be able to get into. Now we start talking about claims and policies and roles. This is where we're going to start to get into what does authentication, what does authorization mean? Now it's going to get a little interesting. So in areas identity, we're going to create a claims principal factory class. So up here in areas identity, claims principal factory. Okay. Let's put this down and talk about it. There we go. I'm missing, there we go. So a user claims principal factory. This is what, right, a claim, a user claim is I call it a piece of security significant data, right? Because data about a user, like their eye color, their hair color, their lack of hair in some cases. And I'm thinking of you, bearded builder. That will... While those might be important to the identity of the user, it's not security significant. Security significant, though, might be something like, what office do they work out of? Do they work, what region, what country are they from? What is their birth date, so you can calculate age, because maybe folks under the age of 21 aren't allowed to take appropriate actions. They're not allowed, in my state, if you're under the age of 21, you're not allowed to work with alcohol. So these are all considerations that you might need to make that are security significant pieces of information. This is the Philadelphia Flyers Stadium Series hat from, I want to say 2018, when they played against those always tough Pittsburgh Penguins, those Pittsburgh stinking Penguins. Let me tell you, we don't like no Pittsburgh Penguins in this town. We are tough with our Flyers here. So what this is going to do is this will start up and we'll be able to look at the API and actually generate some claims based on who that user is and investigate. So this is actually where it's going to start to move to the other server. Okay. So we need some authorization helpers in order to work with this. You want another oh, look at the penguins there. Just for that, I'm not changing my hat. Hang on, let me create this in the infrastructure folder, and then we'll change our hat up here. Auth helpers in the infrastructure. That's over in the backend project, actually, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Where do you see this? So I'm going to create this class here. Come on. Auth helpers. Here we go. And we have a bunch of code to drop in here that's going to stop. And we'll talk about what this is. See, and it calls it front-end infrastructure. Should it have been... I think it should have been in the other file. The other project. Let me put it over here. I think it's supposed to be down here. Add new folder. Infrastructure. Right, and I'm going to put that right there. Get rid of it from there. All right. Nope, it didn't write the file in. Oh, Svava. Brutal. Asking me to change that to papyrus? All right. Let me talk about what this is, and I will change my font. So we have some authorization constants, some constants that we want to be available throughout the application, such as, is someone an admin, is someone an attendee, and a true value, just so we can pass true around, which feels weird. We have these authorization constants then being used because we want to be able to say, well, is someone an admin, and pass in a claims principal. A claims principal is it's an identity object that has a collection of claims about a user. And we're going to be able to check, well, using this isAdmin method, we'll check the principal, see if they have a claim for isAdmin. Now, it's interesting that, right? There we go. So if it's an admin and if they have the true value, true, hanging out there, you could do name of true there, but whatever. We're going to make them an admin. That's easy. We're going to go find their identities that are out there. Find the first one, and we're going to call this makeAdmin method. And for an identity, we're going to say add claim, and it's a claim, right? That's that security specific, security significant piece of information. And we're going to add an isAdmin constant here. It's just a string along with the value true. So now down here, we have an authorization policy builder. So this is what lets us define a policy. A security policy is what enforces and says, you must have these capabilities, these claims, this role, you must have these features in order to appropriately pass to satisfy this policy. Okay? That's right, Death Knight, we're in a Flyers hat now. So that's what's happening here to kind of simplify this and make it a little bit easier to pass around and force someone into admin mode, right? Notice it's a claim now, not a field that's true false, okay? Now, we need to register this, but before I register it, we have a redemption. We have a channel points redemption, and if you're watching on the YouTube, you're not going to like this. You might not like this. I don't think you're going to like it, but let's see here. We did this, that, and here. So the request is for us to change our font to papyrus. It's going to make it a little bit difficult to read, but Jeff's here to help you. So for 15 minutes, oh my gosh, 15 minutes, we're going to be looking at the font papyrus. I hope you like papyrus, because it's a fantastic font. See? Papyrus font. And let's change that here real quick. Fonts. Don't say I didn't warn you. No, go ahead. You can say it. No, don't. All right, it's fine. Maybe. Look at that. Nothing happened. Try that again. Nothing happened. Papyrus. Is it because I didn't save the file? Nope. What happened? I changed font. And nothing happened. Right? Nope. No, it doesn't need to be monospaced. We've been in papyrus mode before, and it hasn't been a problem. That worked. That's ugly. Not ugly enough. 20, bold, go. There it is. I feel like I'm watching the movie Avatar now. We're going to be in papyrus mode for 15 minutes, thanks to the redemption from our friend... That's not the right timer. That's the right timer. From our friend Svava. Yes, papyrus. It'll be fun. Don't worry. I'm here. All right. Here we go. Unicorn is worse. It is. Your soul hurts looking at that font. It's amazing. It makes me feel like we're in an adventure. We're looking at a scroll that's leading us to the treasured land, the important source code. All right, let's get back over here. So we created this user claims principal factory. It knows how to get information about the user. We need to register that. We need to make it available so it knows how to use this. So we need to go back into the identity hosting startup, which is, where is it? That's the backend service. I went into the wrong project altogether. Identity hosting startup. There it is. And we need to register it under configure services. Oh yeah. It's just that good. I mean, look at that. Can't you tell exactly what's going on there? Thank you, Svava, for the cheer. Pay attention to Smab. What did Smab do? What? We should go light mode 2? No, don't go to light mode 2. That would be just wrong. We could, but don't. That'd be bad. What's going on, Smap? I see you trying to get attention. Hat. Oh, we need to change the hat also. Okay, that's right. We need to change the hat. 1 second. How's that? Oh, yes. Many hats. There we are. Back on a Twitch hat. All right. Can we attach claim requirements to individual entities? Yes. Yes, you can. You can create all kinds of policies here, but we're just creating a simple policy up front to require admin access. So we add authorization services with an admin policy to configure services. So here, when we added authorization over in startup, check this out. This is where it starts to get interesting, for me at least. When we start to figure out authorization capabilities. Here, we need to add, there. Okay, so check this out. Services add authorization. We're going to define a policy called admin, okay? And the policy says you need to be an authenticated user. See, that looks adventurous and cool. And you need to require that they have the isAdmin claim. Now, right, that isAdmin claim is this extension method that we wrote over here, that we copied over, that requires that you have the isAdmin claim and the value is set to true. If you don't have that claim, rejected. If you have that claim and the value isn't true, rejected. Okay? So, well, thank you, Smap. I'm glad you approve of the hat. Change the font size? What? No, we're good. Okay. So that's working. All right, so now we need to add security claims to the list of usings in index CS.html, then use a helper method in the page model to determine if the current user is an administrator. Okay, so we're just going to do this. All right, let's do this. No, I know what that is. Let's do that over there. Yeah. All right, and I'm going to go over to index CS.html. CS, yes. I need a property here, so I'll create a property, right? Bool isAdmin, right? And here in the onGet, the method that it wants us to add is the isAdmin is going to take the current user and say, are they an admin? And we need to add a using statement so we can do that check. There it is. Boom Boom with a really good question. Yes, you can do that. And I don't know if we get into it as part of this. But you can create policies that check all kinds of things. Right? So, for example, here, add policy, we can say, right, we just added these two things, right? But you can certainly say policy dot, and look at the things you can say require claims, require a role. You can actually add your own custom requirements that inspect and go after different properties of a user. And what's really cool then is you can take this policy and attach it not just to pages, but to resources on a page and say, well, do you have access to this resource? You might have access to the page, but maybe you don't have access to this resource, and we can hide it as well. Have a good one, Johan. Take care. The font reminds you of Italian meatballs. Really? Italian meatballs? The code looks elegant. Look at that, Stroth! Wow. See? Look. Stroth's on the same side as Svava. This code looks elegant. Okay. I'm going to talk my friend Kendra Havens into doing more with Papyrus font. On the Index Razor page, though, we need to add an edit link to allow admins to edit sessions. Here's where we're doing a policy check. So when you have that list of speakers for, right? When you have the list of speakers for a session, just underneath of it, we're going to add an edit link. So let's go over the... What are you doing? Close everything. Try that again. What's interesting is this is running and I have a clock underneath of it. So we can see exactly how long this is running. We've just crossed 10 seconds. Coming in on another 10. That doesn't want to work for us. Open with HTML editor. Nope, you're not going to let me do that either. Okay. Open with XML editor. No. Open with web forms editor. No, bad idea. HTML editor with encoding? Nope. Nope, it's not going to open. Well, that feels bad. Yeah, restart the Visual Studio. This feels like this. I'm in a preview mode, so it feels like a bug here. It's about time to restart Visual Studio. We had a couple things kind of leak memory there. My index scroll won't open. Well, maybe. And clean the solution as well. That's not a bad idea. It's been a while since we've done a solution clean. Just get some extra old files out there. Papyrus broke Visual Studio, they're saying in the chat room. What do you mean, no hat? Nope. Clean the solution, and we can't open index. Well, that feels shame. Lily Hazel's still here. Hello. No, it's not the font. Nope. Thank you. I know who I am. Really? Waiting. And sign in with my phone. Right? This is what I have to go through every time I sign in. There we go. And now I have to look at my phone. Okay, did it. There, yeah. Okay. Pardon me. You kidding? This isn't working either. Okay. Cannot open Razor pages. Cannot create. Losing IntelliSense in colors. Nope, can't even open. Report new problem. IntelliSense does not finish. Yes. And this is 16. I don't know. Pardon me for a minute. This is 16.6. Preview 2.1. Cannot open a Razor page file. Greeted with IntelliSense is still loading. Error. Screenshot. Yes, please include a screenshot. Thank you. Submit. Thank you. Well, the good news is, with .NET, you can code in any text editor you'd like. And we can't use Visual Studio anymore. So we're going to go somewhere else. That's disappointing. So now that threw me completely off. It's in the index razor page. Not that one. I thought we were... Never mind. Conference planner, front end. All right. Pages. Index here. All right. Open with code. And if this doesn't work, there is a conspiracy seeking to bring me down. They're gonna bring me down to Chinatown. No, that was Bobby De Niro in I forget what movie. So when it does the for each on the speakers, right after that, we're gonna put a for each. Well, if you're an admin, right? We'll move this over. And what's really annoying about this is Visual Studio Code has no Razor editor here. Yeah, we should go to Vim. Totally go to Vim. No, not going to go to Vim. What just happened? All right. Add a nested admin folder to the pages. So this is where we're going to create an admin section that folks are allowed to work in. Let's see if that works. So the pages folder is organized. It is structured just like a series of folders that you would navigate on your, right, as you're going through the application. And it wants me to add an edit session razor page. All right, let's see how that works. Add razor page. Yep. Let's see how this works. Edit session. Yep, give me a page model. Here we go. I know. Yeah, you think I need to rebuild the project? See, I'm lucky I'm not getting into Papyrus because Visual Studio won't open any files. And okay, rebuild succeeded. So add razor page, edit session. Really? I'm asking you to put down a blank page. Okay. All right, and edit. All right, so here, right? Remember, I don't know if you saw this in previous versions of Visual Studio. I'm going to let that timer keep going just because I owe you. But you used to be able to say, hey, this folder, you need this role in order to participate. Well, we have a similar feature here. When we say map razor pages, we can say options, right? And I can say options dot, was it? No, it's in services. Oops. I always get these two confused. There we go. No, it's up here. Add razor pages right there. This one. Now we have configuration we need to put in. Options dot, right? And now we can say conventions authorize folder, right? Yep. And now it asks for, well, what's the name of the policy that you must pass in order to get in here? And there's our policy created there called admin. So this way, not only have we added razor pages, but we've also said you need to have this policy passed in order to access content in this folder. Really easy to see how you could structure that and build out a nice architecture of folders with appropriate admin constraints on different things here. Yes, you love that font, Winter Lore Games? It's wonderful. So, our edit session, we need a little bit of information over here so we can actually edit the session. So, I'm going to copy this, go back over here, and paste that in. So we need an API client, because we need to be able to update and send information back about it. We need information about our session that we're working with. So when you navigate to the edit session page, it's going to fire on get, right? The get when you go to a page. Get that session for the ID of the session requested and return it. We still need to do a post. We still need to do, well, what does that save look like? So inside of edit session CS_HTML, yep, the Blazor editor is gone. Not Blazor, Razor editor is... Oh, now we're going to work. All right, good. So we're going to change that. All right. And so now it'll receive an ID on the route, and we're going to make the edit session page with a form, and it'll be able to HTML form, and it's going to be able to do those interaction things that you expect from an HTML form. And now it really does look like a scroll. Looks like a papyrus scroll of HTML. Would you ever expect to print HTML on a papyrus scroll? I did. So, thanks, Fava. So we have a form in papyrus on a scroll. Kind of. I can scroll, see that? And we have information about the session, right? So this is all the information about what the session is, along with some validation fields here. Validation 4, see up there? They're saying put the validation data inside this span for anything about this, right? Remember we put way back at the beginning of the day, we put those attributes on that said these things are required or these things have a maximum length. Those validator attributes on top of our session class here, those are going to be enforced and output inside here if there is an issue with validation. Cool. That's done for us automatically inside of here when we receive that post, and we do something called model validation. And this is it right here. But first, we're done with our font. We're done with the font. Do it live! We did. We used the font live. We're gonna go back to normal people font. Where's it? Cascadia code is what I use. And we'll turn that off. Fantastic. Thank you, Svava, for the redemption. No. I turned that off. No. Are you kidding? I accidentally closed the project. Are you kidding? Yeah, Cascadia code. Reopen that. That's better. All right, here we go. Yes, there we go. Now we're back. So we still need to add the actions, the C# code that's going to handle a post and a delete. Now there was a question earlier about, well, what if I have different buttons? If I have different ways to get or delete or do other things on it, you have these different handler names: on post async, on post delete async. Those come from, see, you probably couldn't tell over here. You have a button called save, and this is a submit, so it's going to just do a regular post. But here we have a button that has delete on it. We've specified the page handler is called delete. That will trigger then the on post delete async. So this name matches that other thing. So this could be, right, foo magoo, and it will trigger a method called onPost foo magoo async. Okay? So you can have multiple buttons that trigger different methods on post and do different things. So thank you for the follow. Just ate a grape. I hope you enjoyed your grape. Saint Wukong, thank you for the follow as well. And live share isn't turned on. Live share was giving us problems, and so we've turned that off for a little bit. And we need to make sure that our session is sent back appropriately. So just like we had attributes over in our classes, in our data objects, we're putting an attribute here called bind property that says, well, when you do that post, the fields that are in here that are named the same as what a session is, grab those and bind them together and load them into a session object in this property. That way it's loaded up with whatever was saved, and you can then go through and process and paint and work with. So now I can say here where it says, was the model state valid? It's going to look at that session object and check, do we have the appropriate length abstract? Do we have a title? Because that's required. And is it less than 200 characters? If it is, then it's valid. It does that check for us because that's the model that it's checking. The model is actually this whole class, but because it has this property here, it's going to inspect that session object and enforce those attributes. If it is not valid, it's going to return the page and will show the validation errors. Otherwise, we're going to call our API client, reach back to our backend service, and update that session. Not bad, right? It kind of makes sense when you look at how that interaction works, and it's the post request get pattern. Okay? So we need a success message to go back out there, so we'll add this, and let's just stick that somewhere, let's say right there. So we have message, and this is in temp data. Temp data is a way inside of Razor pages for you to say, this only exists for one request for this instance, and after it, delete it. You can attach custom validations as well. That's right. And when post is successful, right, session updated successfully is what we'll do. So I'm going to actually, that should be after we actually update, right? Hey, that it updated successfully. And same thing down here on delete. If we deleted, we should say, well, session deleted successfully. Right, there we go. So, easy, makes sense. And we need to place that message somewhere. So we will put this directly below the H3 near the top. So you get a nice little bar up at the top of the page that if there is a message, we're going to create a little button here that with a close that's indicated to close, and we'll put the message there with the alert markups. So it's red and kind of shows, hey, danger happened here. Temp data properties also flow across pages, so we can update the index page to show the message value as well. So over at the top of index SHTML, we should check that as well. And we're going to need to have this. So let's go back to index CSHTML. And where does it want it to be? At the top. Let's put it right after the H1. And we need to copy in these two properties so that we have that same temp data that we can load and bounce off of, as well as a way to say, hey, show there was a message. Let me get back to that. We've gone too far here that it's... I want to show you how this works, what this looks like now. There we go, still building. Good. And we've crossed the 5 o'clock hour. All right. Let's see here. Scheme already exists. What? What? What are you doing? Where do we break this up? 16. And it's saying what scheme already exists. Did I put this in 2 places? Sorry. Add authorization right there. Options. Is it also up here? No. Identity.application. Where's that coming from? This is going to be options.add. Is the type of thing that we're going to see this in. And it's authentication options. Services add dbcontext, add default identity, add default identity. Oh, it's doing this twice here. I don't need the bottom one. I don't think is what it's complaining about. So close to being able to redeem a voiceover, says Lily Hazel. Oh. Let's see. Let's see if we get this running. Have a good one, S&B. Take care. So this is the front-end web service here. Right, there's the back-end service. That's running well. There we go. So now I have a register button up here and log in, home search. Why do I have home search and privacy twice? Let's see. Shared. Layout. Home search privacy. Home search privacy. But it also put home over on the other side. Right? I think this is supposed to go here. Or not. I placed it in the wrong place, but I should be able to register, create a new account, and it'll create this, right? And we'll be able to see it over here. It'll log that it was a new admin. So I'm going to log in with my new, really cool email address, c#fritz@livecoders.dev. My password is It's really complex. There we go. Yeah, go ahead, save that password. And interesting, it didn't show up in my log. Oh no, that's the other log. This one's running, all right, running somewhere else. But I am now logged in, c#fritz@livecoders.dev, and I can log out. I can log back in again. There's all that stuff. So I have that capability, and because I'm an admin, I can click edit and I can change Heather's session. The care and feeding of awesome software engineers. Save. Session updated successfully. I go back to the front end, and now it's updated. All right, so that all works. Yeah, I don't have access to the front end log because it's hiding inside of IIS. No worries. Not concerned. Okay. So that's built. Next, we're going to create a TagHelper. So a TagHelper is a way for you to wrap an element of markup with a tag, an HTML tag, that behaves and does something appropriately. And we're going to create one here that checks to see if you have authorization and display or hide that element appropriately. Makes sense? Instead of writing like we did over here in this index page, right? We did this if, where'd that if go? There we go. If model is admin. That stinks. That doesn't look like HTML. That's right. I'm getting caught in C# flip-flop back and forth. John Galloway is here. Good afternoon, John. Good to see you. So let's write a little TagHelper that does that if statement for us. So we're going to create a folder called TagHelpers, and we're going to load this up with our new capability here. Let me close down some of this. And I'm going to add new folder. Now, TagHelpers they're a way that you can build code to execute that it's built with C#, which is kind of weird. But this is authz TagHelper CS is what we're creating. So we're going to create a new item, TagHelper class, and authz TagHelper. All right. So we're going to let this run. Nope. On any element. So this is an attribute that says this TagHelper can be applied to any element. You just put an attribute on it, right? Any element name. Put an attribute on it, authz, and this TagHelper will act. It'll start acting on it. We're going to also require that it has the authz policy attribute as well, so that we can do two different types of check. We need to make sure we have our authorization service. So I'm going to receive this. Oh, look at that. It doesn't have a constructor. Fantastic. I can just paste it in. John, you missed it. They made me use papyrus font here. That's one of those channel redemptions that folks have. And Svava made me use papyrus. But we survived. We did okay. We're going to add a couple attributes here, a couple properties that are going to actually get loaded from our HTML attributes. So we said you need to have an authz and an authz policy attribute on whatever HTML tag you want this thing to act on. Those two attributes we're going to load into these properties. So if you say authz, you can specify true or false whether it requires authentication, and you can specify the name of the required policy with the authz policy attribute on your tag. We're going to need a little bit of the view context. We need to know exactly where this is running. So, yeah, Svava, have some mercy on us. Don't do it again. And we're going to make... Well, we need to bring this in. And let's make this async. So, process async. And we're actually going to have it go and do the check. So let's take a look at what this is doing, because it's a lot. I want to make sure you understand what's going on here. I thought we just brought in view context. There we go. So process async. All right, there's a lot here. Let's break it down. If we require authentication, it's because either the requires authentication has been set or there is a required policy defined. If one of those two is set, so requires authentication or there's a policy you need to pass in order to be authorized, then it requires a little bit of a check. Show output is going to start off as false, and we're going to check those attributes. Do we have authz? Good. And it doesn't require authentication, and the context identity is authenticated, so if you are logged in, then show the output. Otherwise, if we do have a policy, take a look at the view context view data for the name of that policy, just to see if it was cached, and we can check that result. Otherwise, we're going to authorize, check the validation of that person, of that user, against the policy that was defined, mark it whether as authorized if they succeeded in their policy check, and save off that view context. This is going to get cached if you output cache this page for this user. So cache the state of that for this user so that we can come back to it. Easy. We need to register the TagHelper in our view imports file. So let me go back over to view imports. So whenever you have using statements are a thing, right? Everybody has using statements, and they're not too bad, right? But in Razor, we have using statements like @using, so that front end reference is available throughout. We're specifying the namespace of our pages as front end pages, but we're also registering and saying any tag helpers in these assemblies, load them up and make them available as well. So, all right. Nope, I didn't define a project today because it's clearly defined just below there, and here's the link to the source code that we're working on. So now we can update that index.cs HTML page. So instead of having, right, look at this. So instead of having this if is model is admin, check this out. Get rid of that li, right? And we can make this very simply. Let's give it a little bit of space there. And we can say, right? And why isn't it showing up? Close everything. Reopen. The Razor editor has been giving me fits. Nope, I don't see it there. Auth policy is admin. And that's it. And it will only light up and make that edit available, that edit button available, if you're an admin. So let's give it a shot and see what happens here. Yes, this is the ASP.NET Core Workshop 8-hour marathon stream. There were still codes on TagHelper. Codes on TagHelper. What codes? No, we covered them all. No, we're good. I think we got everything. And so there's the back end service. Here's the front end service. Now, I'm logged in, so I get this to see the edit link. If I log out, I don't get to see it. It gets hidden, and I've now got a nice little tag helper that I can put on various elements that I want to hide if you don't have access to that policy. Easy. That makes sense. Real easy to understand and process and use. I have about 40 minutes left, and we have 3 sessions to go through. Oh boy. Take care, Jean Valjean. Thank you so much for tuning in. The next session is about attendee signup, so you can build an agenda. And this checks if you're an attendee. It does basically the exact same thing, except from the point of view of an attendee and saving attendee information. It's literally the same thing. We create an attribute. That's the one difference in here. Yeah, saving a personal login page. I'm not going to go through this because this is almost identical to what we just did. There's nothing really new here that I see. We're just authorizing and making different components of the page available. I'll let you go through this on your own time. The source code is here. It is very much the same as what we've already gone through a lot of this. So it feels like it's a lot of something we've already done. I did take a break about an hour and a half ago. There's a question from Tajari. asking, and I want to make sure this is up on the screen. I saw John answered it, but I want to make sure this is answered. Are tag helpers on .NET or just core? These are tag helpers are only ASP.NET Core, and you're actually going to see tag helpers be superseded by Blazor components. They're a little bit more flexible and easier to build. So you're going to see folks begin to favor Blazor components over tag helpers. Tag helpers are a lot of C# that you need to write in order to deliver features. They're quite handy, absolutely. All right. I told you I was going to skip session 6 because session 6 is here's how to set up. Health checks aren't too bad. They would be fun to add. Well, yeah, let's talk through health checks here real quick. When you deploy an application, so we've skipped module 5. Module 5 is a lot of repeat of what we've already done. A lot of rehashing in the same thing again. And to be clear, this workshop is designed to be delivered over 2 days, and we're delivering it in less than 1. Health checks are a way for you to give information back to orchestration services that are going to be interacting with your web service. You want to be able to communicate, hey, is this healthy or not? Are things behaving properly? Are they accessible for folks to use? So you want to notify your orchestrator to take a web server out of the mix, to start a new web server, to reboot the web server if it's not responding properly. So we're going to put in some health checks here. There's a question here from Tajari asking, when does Blazor Client ship, or has it already? So Blazor Client Side, also called Blazor WebAssembly, is scheduled to be shipped in May 2020. If you're watching the recording, it may have already shipped. But at the time of this recording here, at the beginning of April, it has not shipped, and it's scheduled to ship in May. Thank you for the question. So we're going to add some stuff to allow us to check the status, check the health of our entity framework connection, and make sure that we report back whether or not we can get to our database or not, and if our database is healthy. So we're going to first add the health checks to the backend service that we wrote. So we'll come over here to our console, and I'm going to go up into the backend service, paste in a .NET add package statement. We've been doing these all day, so this shouldn't be too unfamiliar. But this is specifically adding the extensions diagnostics health checks for Entity Framework Core right there, so we can inspect and take a look at what's going on. And we're going to add a health check with a dbcontext check to make sure that our database access is okay. So up here in the backend service, let's go into startup, and this is services add health checks. So the order that these appear doesn't really matter, so we'll do that check, and this will let us light up and go to an endpoint. We're going to add that right now, /health, and see the state of our application if it's running properly. So down here under endpoints, I'll add map health checks /health so that we know we can get there. All right. So if we navigate in our backend web service application, we should see healthy because it's able to get to that location. So I'm going to come over here and replace our Swagger information with /health, and it comes back with healthy. And I can keep querying that, and I keep getting healthy information back. Great. It can see the database. It can interact with it. I'm feeling good about the health of my application. And it was that easy to add just to make sure we can get to the database and the database is behaving. Let's do the same thing to the front end service. So that should be 313 is the current version. So I'm going to close all of that down and go back to the front end and add health checks to the front end application. So we can check both instances of the application. We'll add that services check so that it knows how to do health checks now on the front end service, and we need to give it that endpoint to listen to. It's not, yeah, it should be identity dbcontext. Yeah. Thank you. And yep. So down here where we're mapping endpoints, these are all the endpoints that we're teaching ASP.NET to listen on, right? Listen for all the Razor pages. Now listen on that health URL so we can take a look and see if it's healthy as well. And let's add one more health check here to check to make sure we can get to the backend service. This way, if we can't get to the backend service, that's another health check for our front end application that it's not able to see it. Something's wrong. You need to take a look at this. So to the API client, we're going to add a check health async method. So let's go there. Right, we'll add that. It's already there, actually. I cheated. And we'll add a check health sync method to the API client. API client. So it's already here. And it's going to go to the /health endpoint of our backend service. If the string healthy comes back, it's positive. If there's an error for some reason, it's false. It's negative. It's a bad health check. So now we can create our own health check object that will do this inspection and return an appropriate message. So we'll add a backend health check class in a health check folder here for the front end. I feel like I'm saying the word health check too many times here. All right. There it is. So this class is going to receive an API client, right? And yep, it is a health check. It implements the health check interface. Let's fix all of our control dots here. There we go. And what don't you like there? Do I have everything? Yeah, okay. So it's going to receive our API client, and when this health check is requested, it's going to go to our API client and say, make sure that that backend service is running. If it's true, we're healthy. If we can't get to it, we're not healthy. This way, we're returning information about other services, not just the database, but also our repository, our backend repository microservice, to indicate if it's healthy or not. So now we can add that as an additional check in the startup for this. So where up here, where'd it go? Add dbcontext check. I'll do that backend health check. And now we've started to layer in these other health checks that we're going to verify, because our front end web service depends on other things. It depends on our security database being available, identity dbcontext. It depends on the backend data service being available. And if those aren't available, it's unhealthy. So now, right, I'm going to run this one more time. Take care, John. Good to see you. I'm a hero for your time. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Yeah, live coding. So your orchestrator can interact with this and get information back as to whether your application is healthy, more than just the web server is running. I'm actually checking to see if these other things that it's dependent on are actually still there. So here it is running on IIS, right? Running on the Windows web server. And I go to /health, and it's doing all the checks, and it's saying healthy. But if I kill the web service, right, I can still get to the front end, and I'm actually going to get an error because it can't get to the back end service. Boom. If I go to the health check, and I'm the orchestrator that's doing that health check, I now get unhealthy information. So here's an instance where our orchestrator, it sees the front end web servers. Well, this one's unhealthy. It's not able to do something. Page someone, send an alert, send a text message. You need to take a look at this because this server is unhealthy. It failed one of its health checks. And we'll be able to go through the log and see exactly what health check failed. So that's really cool to be able to add that in to help folks that are running orchestrators. Whether it's a load balancer running in the cloud somewhere or it's Kubernetes, you're going to be able to get information back from that that's standard and you're going to be able to use. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff here about publishing with Docker. I don't want to get into Docker because, quite frankly, I have a half an hour left, and I'd rather, this is, dear Lord. I'd rather take a look and talk about gRPC and talk about dropping a Blazor component in here for some of these. Jay Roseguard is here. Hello, hello. Tajari asks, if unhealthy, does it show which part of the app failed? What it will show. So here, when it does that health check, that's the name of the health check. Back end. So if I actually let me set front end. I want this to default start with. You're kidding, right? There we go. I don't want it to start with IIS Express. I want it to start with that. Good. And if I start it like this, we should see it appear in the log that it failed the health check. Right, it's going to put it into a log. You're going to have to dig up the log. And at that point, it's an operations problem. Look for that warning in the log that it failed a health check here. Right, so there's the back-end application. Where'd the front end go? It didn't run it somewhere. All right, tell you what. I'm gonna run it by hand then. We'll run it by hand. I'll run them both by hand. How you like them apples? We'll do it here, and we'll go down into .NET run. So there's the backend service running. Come on. What was it? ASP. There it is. The Twitch workshop, conference planner, front end, and we'll .NET run over here. So now I've got two of these running. So there's the backend service running. Here comes the front end service. Oh, you know what? This is going to fail. Because it's using the same ports. So let's do this. Let's change the port that the front end is operating on. Launch settings. So instead of it on 5001, and we'll make this run on 5000. Let's make it run on 5003 and 5002. And rerun that. Yes, you can tell it what to show on the endpoint, on the health checks endpoint. Yes. However, you really do want the health checks endpoint to be dumb. Oh, shoot. I keep hitting Control-C instead of Control-Shift-C here. 1 second. So let's copy that. Open a new, and there is... Go ahead and navigate. There we go. So we can see what's going on over here for that, and I'll do the health check. And you'll see that it's doing requests using the API client. Okay. Where's HTTP client? HTTP client. I don't see it doing the... There it is. There it went over to the backend service to query for health. So now I'm going to shut down the backend service. And we'll do the same request over here. Right? And there we go. Fail. Diagnostics health checks default health check. Health check backend. There's the name of the health check. Completed with status unhealthy. Okay? So there's something you can look for in the log that'll tell you, hey, the health check didn't work properly. And you can change how that's formatted and outputted appropriately. So, yep. 3.1 works a lot better. You can do things to create a styled error for it, but this is really intended to be the health check page is intended to be a machine-facing endpoint. You want it to be as simple as possible, so just outputting healthy, unhealthy, real easy for us as humans to be able to pick up without it being just 1 and 0, right? But easy to compare against and decide what to show there. So, I really wanted to show gRPC. So let's see if we can get 15 minutes in here and show gRPC, adding that into the mix on this. So let me close these two tabs. So I've still got the one that I was working with, source control here, and also .NET command line. gRPC is a new way that you can, a newer way that technology that folks and a standard that's really working cross-platform using protocol buffers to be able to transmit data in a very compressed format back and forth from one endpoint to another. So, very machine focused. You're not going to like what you read when you see the data being transported because it's very, very compressed. But you're going to be able to work with this and get some really neat things happening out of it. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to come into my backend service here, and I want to add the gRPC service. Now, this isn't in here anywhere. We're going to go completely off script here and add gRPC into the mix. All right. So I'm going to add the gRPC, package, so that we can start parsing protocol buffer definition files. Look at this. 2 updates since I updated this morning. Are you kidding? All right, so we want gRPC.ASP.NET Core. Go find that. And there it is. Let's install this. Yep. Give me that gRPC capability. Fantastic. So now I can create, I could do this before, but I can actually start loading up with appropriate data. I can create protocol definitions using a folder, I'll call it protos here. And we can use a protocol buffers definition, right? We can add a new item here. And let me see, where's protocol buffer file. And let's create one just to fetch sessions. So let's call this, sessions, right? So there it is. And we're going to define I believe it's right? Do we say, I had this written earlier. Where is that source code that I wrote earlier? We can just steal it and keep right on working here. No. Give me 1 second. Or I'm going to feel shame and can't find it. Because I know it's here. I just can't remember where I put that instance that I saved off that I was working on. No. You make me sad, Windows, that you can't find folders. Come on. There it is. Really? What the heck is this? That's the one I just created. Son of a gun. Man. See, I went and worked on this ahead of time, and... Oh! I think I put it in a different branch. Did I put it in a different branch? I did. Okay. And git log. Yep, started it. Let's do a git diff to I did it again. It's going to take me a while to get used to Control-Shift-C, let me tell you. Which folder is it in? That's... It's in 2. Alright. Oh, now you won't Control-C, will you? Here we go. So I actually started the Proto's syntax here. Let me show you what this looks like. Just because it's a little bit easier to read. You're gonna... There we go. There we go. So we have a service we're calling sessions, and it has a remote procedure call endpoint, an RPC called getSessions, okay? And we need to take in a request object, and our request object doesn't have any parameters to it, but we're going to return a response object called session response, and our session response has a collection, a repeated group of session objects in the first position, while each session object has an ID, title, abstract, start time, and end time. We know what those are, we've seen those, we've worked with those. It makes perfect sense to us at this point. But now we need to tell .NET what to do with these things. How to manage the protobuf file here. So in our CS proj, I'm going to add another item group that says, here's what, this is a thing you need to know about. It's a protobuf, and we're going to include, and we're going to specify that we're including stuff from the protos sessions proto file. So you know, here's a thing, this, where'd it go? You need to do something with this .NET. So now, that's something that it can figure out what to do with. I need to go over to startup, and I need to add gRPC into the mix here. I need to tell it that gRPC is a thing, and then add that endpoint. So where I added controllers here, I'm going to say services add gRPC. And now it knows how to handle a gRPC, a protocol buffer endpoint that it's going to negotiate with and interact with. So next, down here inside my endpoints, where'd my endpoints go? Here we go. Not only are we setting up the slash to go over to Swagger, but we're also going to we're going to map a gRPC service, and we're going to have to name this. I'm going to call it the gRPC session controller, because it's going to look a little bit like the other session controller, but different. Because it's gRPC, of course. So up here in controllers, I'm going to add a class. Right? gRPC session controller. So this time, instead of having a controller that inherits from controller base. We want to inherit from this thing, what this thing defined. So we're going to inherit from sessions. So we inherit, right, with the colon. So sessions, yep, dot sessions base. So now I have that, and it already knows, check that out, it knows the .NET format for get sessions. Let me put that back up again. There it is. So it knows what this syntax is. It knows how to handle the gRPC request coming in from there, but it doesn't know what to do with it. So we're going to write a little bit of code here so that it knows how to go get sessions to return. So I'm going to go back over to the sessions, the regular session controllers. Close everything but this one, right? That's over here. And I'm just going to return the session objects. I'm not going to go get all these other things. So I need an application dbcontext, and I just want db sessions. So let's create a constructor here. That's not a, that is. And we want an application dbcontext. We'll call it dbcontext, right? And we're going to store that off in a field. There it is. And what we're going to do is we're going to return dbcontext sessions, and we're going to have to select, because we need to cast it into our session response object, right? Actually, we're going to return a new session response, right? Session response, this one, right? And yep, the sessions are going to be db sessions select, and we're going to be returning yeah. Now I need to tell it how to change over here. So we're going to say new session, right? So a session should have, what are we doing here? Backend data session. No. That should be, this one. Backend protos. See, I'm going to be confusing myself with the names of these. Session, right? And that. So this should be a data session. Right? There we go. Cool. All right, so I should... What do you mean it's read-only? I should have been able to load that up. Right? I'm returning a collection of these things. It's a repeated set of sessions. Let's see, I can F12 into this and see a definition. Look at that. Sessions field number 1. It's a repeated field, and it's right. So I should be able. It's only a get, so I should be able to say, I guess, sessions.add. Right. So what if we say this? Var out response equals new session response. And can we say out response dot sessions dot, there we go, add range, and we're going to return these things. I want to put the semi out there, get rid of that one. Yeah, that should do. So now, there we go. I can say ID equals s dot ID. And I'm just going to do left, right. There we go. Next one was, sure, end time equals S, end time. Next is start time equals, here comes something interesting. And title is the title. There is no time data type. So I'm just going to put a toString on here. And we'll bring it back into date format later. Thank you for the follow, Demonoid. Welcome in. So, not all code paths return a value. Yes, I'm not returning it yet, am I? So now I can say return out response. There we go. Do I have an extra? Right, that lines up there with that. Why don't you like that? Let me throw an async in front of this, and that should, there we go. Good. So now I've got a gRPC service that we can query, but we want a client. We really want a client on the other side. I could have done a task from result, sure. Sure. It's probably the right way to do it. There we go. Now I want a client on the other side that's actually going to inspect and query and get these things back. So here's what I can do is over in my front end service, notice I don't have to create a DTO in the middle. What I can do now is I can, and this capability is available in other languages, but they don't have the cool connections like we have in between service here. I'm going to create a write a service reference. There we go. Add a new gRPC service reference. And I can point to a file. Yeah, the file I want to read is out here in the back end. It's in the protos, and I'm going to grab that. Select the type of class to be generated. I want a client class generated. It's going to install the NuGet packages that I need so that I can do this integration. What's up, Kabazi? Don't I want to make the database call async? I could. I'm not going to get wrapped up in that. I don't have much time left here to get wrapped up in it right now. But you absolutely could make that. You could absolutely make that asynchronous. So now I have a sessions reference here that I can use to build a client to go and interact with it. So to build that client, looks and feels, and I don't have my client code here. I don't have .NET Core create gRPC client. I have samples that do this. I don't have one handy, but we should be able to create this quickly. It's like 4 lines of code to add this reference. There it is. Right there. So I can now, where I might have been getting sessions on that index page. Where is it? Pages. Index. Right? I can add a method here if I want to get using gRPC. Right? Public void get using gRPC. Right? And I'll include the gRPC client. I can specify now, well, where's the backend address for this? Well, we've already got that available in our configuration. So I can receive configuration here and get that and create and initialize that configuration field. And just like I did in the startup, right, where I specified, right, where is, there it is. I can do the exact same thing over here. So gRPC channel 4 address, the configuration service URL. So it knows here's where the backend service is. And my client is not greet client. it's sessions.sessions client. Okay. And I'll specify the channel that it's on. So I'm thinking I should put that in a using statement. Right? No, it's not disposable. Okay, fine. Good. And I can go and query that data just by saying get sessions async. I don't have any, my session request is empty. There's nothing that you can pass in about that, but I'm sending a session request. And this will return that session response, right? So I can make this an async task. I'm looking at a huge thing of red up here. I'm thinking I deleted some extra. No. Not sure where that's choking. Oh, you know, I'm willing to bet. Can I convert from to, yeah, session? See, I've confused it now because I included that. Let's get rid of that. And you know what? Let's call this just B. Right? So now where it was referencing and trying to get that client, I'll just say B. So I've effectively got a different reference to these things. And now I have a response, and I can actually reach into that and get, right? So this is a, I need to await. And now there's my sessions. But the sessions are a repeated field, so I should be able to do a for each across these. S in this, it's a var S. And there we go. And my times are in string, no biggie, I can convert those back to a time, but I've got a very strongly typed server and client that is passing data back and forth using gRPC. Very simple here, and instead of having to go and create the conference DTO project here in the middle that had all of those different objects that were dumbed down a little bit and passing back and forth, I could use gRPC to pass that data a little bit easier. As of right now, here in April 2020, though, it is a little bit of my duty to inform you, though, if you do decide to use gRPC, you cannot use it on Azure App Service. It is not supported. It doesn't matter if you put it in a container, doesn't matter where you put it, Azure App Service does not support this. But you can use gRPC inside your applications if you want to do this. It's available, but not available. So, and we could format these sessions and output them, but there's the throwdown on gRPC. No, I don't have a quote command. You can clip, and those clips will stick around. I keep my clips around a lot, and maybe we do need to create a quotes at some point here. We've been through a lot today, a heck of a lot. It's been we have now crossed the we're just about at 8 hours. We are right there at the 8 hours. There is a timestamp type in gRPC. Nice. Okay. You want the voice bit achievements? Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. We covered a lot. It's been a very full day here of ASP.NET Core. We learned a ton, and I didn't get as far as I wanted to because I think we answered some really, really important questions for some folks that were starting up It was their first time trying ASP.NET, first time taking a look at C# and getting them started. That first session taking 3 hours, for some folks that might feel unimportant, that might feel like a drag, but for those folks that are just starting, that was really important to get that nailed down, answer their questions, show their questions here on the stream, and make that available. This video, like all my other videos, this 8-hour video that we just finished is going to be available over on the YouTube channel. I'm going to make that available this weekend. It's going to take a while to export and get it over there, but you will see it Saturday over there on the YouTube channel. I'm going to try and go through, identify all the questions that came up, list them out along with markers for, I won't be able to list them all out. I'll at least get markers for the modules. I'll try and get some of the more important questions out there, because there is a limit to how long the description can be on YouTube. We'll see what we can get out there. But I hope you found this valuable. You out there watching, friends, this type of presentation, putting this together, the workshop, we've been building on this. This is code that we've updated again and again and again, and it's available out there for you to download and try and ask questions about open issues. Jump into the Discord. There's a link to the Discord below as well. Click there, ask me a question about it. If you're trying it out and you're having a hard time, I'm happy to answer your questions out there. I know these times are hard right now. I know a lot of us are at home. I know a lot of us are in quarantine. I paused for a minute earlier. Let me just stop the music here while we wrap up. I paused for a minute earlier because something appeared on my phone that kind of got my attention. And if you're watching this and it's after some of the hard times that we're having here in 2020 with the COVID virus, we just received notice that you're in the state of Pennsylvania where I live. You're not. They highly recommend you don't go out without a mask. So my wife and daughters were looking for old T-shirts so they could make masks because we need to go to the grocery store this weekend. So it's a hard time right now. I hope you had a little bit of fun watching. I try and make these a little bit lighthearted, something fun that you can learn. It's a long course. There's so much more to it that I hope you take some time and explore. I skipped over some things there that are very well written up in the documentation. I do hope you take some time to look it up. If you find this valuable and you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor, smash that button up top that says, hey, I subscribe. I want to learn when there's more of this content being made available by Jeff. If you're here on Twitch, hit that follow heart. Let me know. Let us know that you enjoy this, because I do effectively talk show for developers 5 days a week here on the stream. Let me know. There's 10,000 of us out here watching and participating as part of this community.